to the SICSA Conference. The theme this year is SICSA and Sustainable Society. I'm the director of SICSA. My name's Stuart Anderson, and I work in University of Edinburgh. And I'm going to give you a quick overview of SICSA and the Sustainable Society. What I'm going to do is talk briefly about each of the themes. So the SICSA themes, which will be occupy the morning part of the conference, and then I'll talk a little bit about the linkage out to sustainability. So the first theme I'd like to talk about is the networks and systems theme. And really here you can see the idea of a networked city, of a city where we have sensors everywhere, where we're gathering data, and we're looking at using that to build a sustainable city, which allows us to lower the carbon footprint, to make the place more livable, to make it more sustainable. But we have to know what to do with that data. And so we have a data science theme within SICSA, which looks at how you build models and how you analyze and process data from these massive sources of data in order that you can take decisions and you can decide on the sorts of actions that you want to take. And that's the sort of thing that the digital systems theme does. And then we have our cybersecurity theme, and we worry about data when data is something which is, if you like, woven through all of our lives now. We can't escape the idea that actually most of our activity is captured one way or another, on cameras, on our phones, on all kinds of sensors that pervade our environment. So how is it that we can trust what we see on the internet, and how is it that we can trust what people do with our data when we give it to them one way or another, or they take it from us? And so that's our cybersecurity group. And then the question next is, how do you action these things? What do you do in order to go forward from looking at analyzing and protecting data? And so we have our cyber physical systems theme that looks at how it is that we can actually then take actionable movements on the basis of all of the data that we're gathering in all kinds of environments. And the cyber physical systems theme looks quite a lot at extreme environments and how we respond to extreme environments and how we can use cyber physical systems to operate within those environments. The next theme is our human-computer interaction theme, and that's one of the largest themes. It covers a huge amount of different areas. But one fascinating thing is how we're transforming the way that you can actually access computers. And here, this is a haptic device that operates with ultrasound, and it allows you to move and take activity in the world just using your hands in the air or your body in the air, and the haptics will record it. The other thing it allows us to do is to actually levitate things and look at doing 3D representations and 3D data analysis. Our AI theme looks at how is it that you can construct something that will behave intelligently. This is an example of the 5 AI car driving somewhere in London. Our researchers within the AI theme actually work with 5 AI quite extensively, and looking at how do you build a thing like an autonomous vehicle, and how do you use autonomous vehicles to allow people to be more independent, to deal with care, and so on. So those are 6 of the themes. And then the final theme is the theory theme. And here, this is just a model, an outline of how to build a controller, or how to collaboratively develop and optimize a controller for a physical system. And the theoreticians look at developing new programming languages, look at developing new kinds of models, look at how it is that you verify that the computers that we're using actually do what they say they'll do on the tin. So that's the themes, and that will basically form the morning. And how are they linked to the Sustainable Development Goals? The Sustainable Development Goals are very, very extensive, 17 goals, all of them challenging: no poverty, no hunger, good health. What does that mean? And I've chosen just to link some of these to Scottish research, just to make the linkages clear as I possibly can. So one thing, good health, we have extensive research in Scotland about how it is that we use digital technologies to access remote and rural areas. Large swathes of population in the world have no access to health, and they have no access to health because they live remotely. And so Scottish research in this area has the potential to make really very significant differences in terms of the way that good health is delivered. Quality education, we've seen this develop hugely over the past 6 months, that we're now doing so much of our education digitally mediated. Most universities are doing extensive amounts of online teaching. And here we're looking at researchers working out how to use digital to effectively educate at distance. Here, this is a picture of a town in Orkney who are working very closely with Heriot-Watt University to build themselves a digital twin. And they're building a digital twin in order that that digital twin can model the way that they use energy and the way that they can move their community towards having zero carbon footprint and being fully sustainable. This is a picture of a new urban district out near Edinburgh Airport that's due to be built. And here the idea is to use the research on how it is that we build sustainable communities and sustainable cities to build a new urban complex which actually will be fully sustainable. This looks like some pictures of pizzas. It's actually an image from a project called Oxchange that looks at using distributed ledger technology, also called blockchains, to build a recycling economy, an economy which is circular in the sense that goods that we no longer need and we no longer need to use can be recycled and upcycled back into the economy. So there we have world-leading research in the area of looking at how it is that we can actually build these circular economies that we need in order to consume effectively. And then on climate, Scotland has a long history of working closely with companies and also with other researchers to build effective carbon capture. This is a particular image from Scottish Funding Council on doing carbon capture. We have extensive researchers there who use data and models and digital to build an effective way of understanding how it is that we can capture carbon and reduce our carbon footprint. And so now I'm going to go on and talk briefly about the afternoon sessions, because we link in the afternoon to some of the other big research groups within Scotland. So here, this is the Centre for Transport Research in Aberdeen. And we're thinking about, if one thinks about mobility these days, mobility is ultimately something that's mediated digitally, typically by your phone. Now, if I travel to Berlin, for example, I know that I can get an electric car at the airport just by tapping a few strokes on my mobile phone, and that lets me get into a car, lets me use it on demand, and then return it to the pool when I don't need it anymore. And so increasingly we're seeing the way that digital is the thing that mediates our mobility options. ScotChem are the chemistry pool, and they're working on really an application of digital thinking to some extent, because they have started to build this thing called a chemputer, which can build products from more or less from scratch using ideas drawn from nanotechnology, but also the specifications for some of these things will be in digital form. They'll be explaining that crossover between computation and chemistry in their session this afternoon. This is an image from the Centre for Cognitive Aging and Cognitive Decline, which is part of SICSA, the Scottish Universities Life Sciences Association. And they're using extensive data sets to look at how cognitive decline happens and what we can do to arrest it. And building models, looking in and analyzing the data and doing data science on real live data sets. And here, this is an image from Synapse, which is the brain imaging unit within the Scottish Pooling Organisation. And here, this is looking at brain health. It's looking at how it is that we can use imaging to predict problems and look at how healthy people's brains are. And that will also be included in this afternoon's presentations. So you can see there's a wide range of activity within SICSA around sustainability. And this afternoon's presentations will make the linkage across the pools and how we cooperate with the pools and how it is that we go forward. So that's the end of my presentation, and I didn't want to speak for too long because actually directors' presentations typically drone on for far too long. I've probably gone on too long already. And now I'm going to hand over to Kate Forbes, who's Cabinet Secretary for Finance in Scottish Government, who will introduce the conference from Scottish Government perspective. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.